Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in Surah As-Saffaat, وقال إني ذاهب إلى ربي سيهدين رب هب لي من الصالحين فبشرناه بغلام حليم. In this ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us about Prophet Ibrahim. He's saying, I'm going to my God to guide me. So he's going to Allah to guide him. And what does he ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? He asks Allah, the one thing he doesn't have, the one thing he wants most is a son. رب هب لي من الصالحين. But we see here, he doesn't just ask for a son, he wants a good son, Salihin. You know, usually when we want something, we just ask for it, but we don't qualify it that it's good and it's khair for us. And similarly, when Prophet Zakaria asked, رَبَّ هَبْ لِي مِن لَدُنْكَ ذُرِّيَّةٌ طَيِّبَةٌ, he wants a good descendants. He just doesn't want a child, he wants a good child. Because they know it's all from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, he's growing old and he has no children, so he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for a son, but one of the children of Salihin, that among the good people, inshallah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, فَبَشَّرْنَاهُ بِغُلَامٍ حَلِيمٍ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him the good news that he will have a good child. Subhanallah. Just as we said before, وَقَالَ رَبُّكُمْ ادْعُونِي أَسْتَجِبْ لَكُمْ. Ask and I will answer. And we see always in the Quran, when somebody asks, it follows with the fi'l, the letter fi'l, which means it happened right the way the answer happened. And one of our problems today is most of the scholars says, no, these are the prophets, their prayers are answered. But no, we are not, our prayers is not answered. When we reflect on our life, we'll find our prayers that came out of our heart is answered too. But the real challenge is, do we ask for the good things for ourselves or not? Because we don't know what's good. And as we said before, Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Allahumma as'alaka al-khayru kullu ma a'lamu wa ma la a'lamu. I ask you for the good things, what I know and what I don't know. Because there's a lot of good things could be good for us, but we don't know about it. وَأَعُوذُ بِكَ مِنَ الشَّرِّ كُلُّ مَا أَعْلَمُ وَمَا لَا أَعْلَمُ. And I seek refuge from you for everything bad, what I know and what I don't know. So here, right away, the prayers are answered. And as we said in Surah Ghafir, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَقَالَ رَبُّكُمْ ادْعُونِي أَسْتَجِبْ لَكُمْ. Your God have said, ask and I will answer. And we have to have faith that it will answer. And as we see in the Quran, the prayers is always answered with the letter F. Even Iblis al-La'in, Iblis the devil, when he asked Allah, انظرني إلى يوم يبعثون, he asked Allah, let me wait till the day of judgment. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answered him and said, yes, you can wait. Subhanallah, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answers the prayers of Iblis, what about us? Our prayers are always answered, and we have to have faith it is answered, inshallah. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, فَلَمَّا بَلَغَ مَعَهُ السَّعْيُ قَالَ يَا بُنَيَّ إِنِّي أَرَى فِي الْمَنَامِ إِنِّي أَذْبَحُكَ. When he got older, and he can help him, and he can support him. And let's remember that from the beginning, Ibrahim was an old person, so he must have gotten older that Ismail now could help him. So what does he dream? He dreamt that he is slaughtering his son, subhanallah. And the prophets know that their dream has to come true. So here, subhanallah, so he sees in the dream that he is slaughtering his son. But he doesn't go tie him up to slaughter him, saying, I'm obeying Allah. He puts it to his son and says, son, I see this. What do you think? فَانْظُرْ مَاذَا تَرَى. So he asks his son his opinion. He doesn't blindly say, Allah ordered me, I'm going to slaughter you, or tie him up and slaughter him at night and say, I seen it. He asks him, what do you see? قال يا أبت افعل ما تؤمر ستجدني إن شاء الله من الصابرين. He tells him, Father, do what you're ordered to do, you will find me من الصابرين. And we notice here he says, I will be patient. He didn't say I'll be courageous like all of us, let's go be courageous in the face of death or. Islam doesn't teach us this. He teaches us to be sabr. He is patient. It's a hardship. It's not a pleasure that he will die. It is a hardship on him and a hardship on his father, and that's why he didn't say you will find me courageous or all these nice words we hear that somebody wants to die. He is a sabr. His patience. Subhanallah. And it says also insha'Allah, he qualifies it that this patience is not from him, he's human, but he needs the help of Allah and the will of Allah to make him patient, inshallah. Subhanallah. Because now they both listen to the orders of Allah and they accept the orders of Allah, and it says فَلَمَّا أَسْلَمَا وَتَلَّهُ لِلْجَبِينِ. They put his face down, ready that his father will slaughter him. وَنَدَيْنَاهُ أَنْ يَا إِبْرَاهِيمُ قَدْ صَدَقْتُ الرُّؤْيَا إِنَّا كَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الْمُحْسِنِينَ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells him, you have fulfilled what you've asked, and he gives him a sheep to sacrifice instead of Ismail alayhi salam. Subhanallah. And the scholar tells us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looked in the heart of Ibrahim, and as we said last week, Ibrahim is Khalilullah, a close friend of Allah, and he found that he is admiring his son. His son is growing older and strong. He admires his son. There's a place for Ismail in the heart of Ibrahim alayhi salam. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to put him to the test. Is the children more important or the love of Allah more important? Subhanallah. And he obeys Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when we have a small thing in the family, we say, why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do this to us? But if we look at the test that these prophets went through, to understand. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is adil. He did not let him go through this. Subhanallah, you read throughout history a king testing the loyalty of his servants and asking to do bad things, and he let him go through with it. He just wants to see the loyalty and prove the loyalty. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knew that Ibrahim is loyal, he doesn't have to go through with this, and he saves him. And we see always, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he asks us, he only asks us the good for us. So he did not let Ibrahim alayhi salam kill his son Ismail. And Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, أَنَا ابْنُ الزَّبِيحَيْنِ, I am the child of the two who would have been slaughtered. Ismail alayhi salam, and as we know his father, his grandfather Abdul Muttalib, did a nazr. He promised that if he has 10 or 12 strong children, he's going to slaughter one of them for the sake of the gods. So it was Abdullah, and he was the one to be slaughtered. But again, he was saved, and it shows us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, إِنَّ اللَّهَ غَالِبٌ عَلَى أَمْرِهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whatever he rules will be. Subhanallah. He didn't let Ismail die, and he didn't let Abdullah die. And comes from then Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And if we reflect on this journey, because as we said, Al-Hajj is a reflection and following the footstep of Ibrahim alayhi salam and Ismail. And as we know, Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he took Ismail to slaughter him, Iblis' la'een comes to him and says, what are you doing to your child? This is wrong. You've waited all your life only to kill him. Ask Allah to save him. Do this, do this. And if we always look, and as we said before, Iblis never comes and tells you to do the wrong. Even with Adam, he says, إِنِّي لَكُمْ مِنَ النَّاصِحِينَ, I'm advising you. So you can worship Allah forever, eat from the trees that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has forbid you to eat from. He never comes and says, don't pray. He tells you, leave this prayer, forget about it, delay it. And once you delay one, and then another, and another, that's why they call it خطوات الشيطان, the footsteps of the shaitan. He never asks you to do something all at once, because he knows our fitrah will not allow us. But he takes us step by step. And as it said in the Quran, the shaitan wanted to take our clothes off, just like he did with our parents. Because when they ate from the tree, they lost that covering that they had and they lost their clothing. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala warned us about the shaitan, that's his aim. And if we look over the last 1500 years, that's what he's been doing. He didn't say to men and women, walk naked in the street all at once. It came up slowly. It came up and down slowly. This is khutwat al-shaitan. Everything is step by step, and it makes sense and logic. So he tries to come by logic, but our fitrah, our instinct should stop us from this, and we should obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he stops Ibrahim and says, what are you doing? This is your son, you've waited so long, ask Allah to forgive and save him. But Ibrahim alayhi salam throws the stones at him and says, no, I obey Allah. And that's an important thing for us to realize. We read throughout the Quran and the Sunnah that the shaitan comes himself to stop something where he feels it's an important point in history. He was there in Badr telling the kuffar, go and fight and kill the Muslims. It's an important thing that he does not entrust anybody else with this task other than himself. And in the Quran says he came in Badr and he was raising his flag and told the kuffar, I will support you, I will make you victorious. But when Jibreel alayhi salam and the angels came into the battle, he ran away and he said, I see what you do not see. SubhanAllah. So he's always there in these critical moments himself. And he tells Ibrahim, and then he told Ismail the same thing, and he told the mother Hajar the same thing. And these are the spots where they threw the stones or the pebbles at the shaitan. These are the spots in Al-Hajj where we throw the same rocks at him too, following the footsteps and remembering that the shaitan is always there to try to stop us from doing the good deeds, and we have to resist. And the scholars reminding us that during Al-Hajj there is two stones. One is the one we kiss, which is Al-Hajar Al-Aswad, the black stone in Al-Kaaba, and one we throw rocks at, which is embodying the shaitan, or resembling, saying this is the shaitan, symbolizing the shaitan. And we do both obeying obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We obey Allah and kiss one, and we obey Allah and throw rocks on other. Even though both might not mean anything, but it shows total obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for what He asks us to do.